there is such a currency to victimhood, especially to racial victimhood, that everyone's trying to claim it, and when they can't claim it because there is no anti-black oppression, there's no systemic racism, there's no anti-woman misogyny, patriarchy. It's all, that is a fantasy of the libs. Because of that, they have to invent it. This is what you're seeing right now at BYU, Brigham Young University. You may have heard of this story. I didn't even report on it because I knew it was bogus from the beginning. But the headlines for weeks now have been that there was a racist incident during a Brigham Young volleyball game. It was Duke versus Brigham Young, and the Duke volleyball player Rachel Richardson claimed that BYU fans yelled racial slurs at her during the game. BYU, that's the Mormon university. Mormons, probably the nicest and most polite people who have ever walked the face of the earth. They're apparently screaming, yelling racial slurs. So the minute I saw that, I said, nope, that didn't happen. There's just no way. I would bet probably my life savings that didn't happen at all. Nothing even resembling that happened. Then the day after the game, this Duke player's godmother, Lisa Pamplin, who's a lib politician who is running for number 5 judge of Tarrant County Criminal Court, tweeted out, quote, "My goddaughter is the only black starter for Duke's volleyball team. While playing yesterday, she was called the N-word." You're not even allowed to say the word. That's how systemically racist America is against black people. There's only one word in the entire English language you are not allowed to say right now, and it's the word that would be offensive to black people. And she was called that word for every time she served. Then in comes LeBron James, of course. LeBron James, one of the wealthiest, most privileged people in America, who says black man can't walk outside their door without being hunted down by racist police. So LeBron James, of course, not a whole lot going on in between those years. He decides to chime in. He believes the thing, hook, line, and sinker. He says, "Lisa Pamplin, you tell your goddaughter to stand tall, be proud, and continue to be black. We're a brotherhood and sisterhood. We have her back. This is not sports." And then Richardson herself chimed in. Said, "Friday night in our match against Brigham Young, my fellow African-American teammates and I were targeted and racially heckled throughout the entirety of the match. The slurs and comments grew into threats." Okay, which caused us to feel unsafe. So hold on. Initially it was we were called names. Then it was we were called the N-word. Then it was we were directly threatened. Not just me, by the way. All the black players, even though apparently I thought she was the only black player. Whatever. As a result of this, South Carolina women's basketball team decided to cancel its home-and-home series with Brigham Young. There was a national outcry, because of how systemically racist America is. Everyone just starts to cancel BYU because to even have this slight insinuation that you might be in any way racist against black people will destroy your entire life. And then BYU does an investigation and finds zero evidence that anything like this took place. It never happened. All of the cultural forces in America are pressuring BYU to find any evidence of this. And BYU couldn't because it obviously didn't happen. Of course, because none of these things are real. They're always hoaxes. It's your reaction to headlines about this is the most interesting thing about the stories. I don't mean you. If you're listening to the show, you're very sensible people. But I mean Americans generally. I had a friend. This is right after Trump wins. A friend of mine in LA, very, very liberal. He says, "Michael, the racism, the Ku Klux Klan has been unleashed in America." I said, "Oh, yeah, I don't think so. I actually know a lot of black people who voted for Trump. I don't really buy that." He says, "No, Michael, I don't. Michael, I was driving down in West Hollywood and I saw a sign and it said, 'Black people not wanted here.' I forget the exact wording, but it was something to the effect of, 'Go away, black people, we don't like you.'" Can you imagine, Michael? In West Hollywood, the forces of racism have been unleashed. I said, hey, buddy. Repeat what you just said. In West Hollywood, which is the most liberal part of one of the most liberal cities, one of the most liberal states, you're seeing this sign. So either there is either the Ku Klux Klan is all libs, or it's a hoax. It's not real. It was put up by either a black person who is trying to get some kind of victim status, Or in West Hollywood, more likely, probably just a liberal white person who is trying to pretend that there is this awful culture of racism. You know, to engage in a lie, but the lie tells a greater truth. That's what the libs always say when they get caught in a lie. But I'm sure, and that isolated incident, I don't know, there was not even any reporting about this sign that my buddy saw. I promise you that was a hoax. And the way that I know that was a hoax is that they always are hoaxes, okay? These kinds of incidents have been going on, especially on campuses like BYU, but on campuses around the country. These things have been going on for 50 years now or more, and they have been increasing in frequency constantly over the last 5 or 6 years, really beginning with the Trump administration, because the libs had this narrative to sell that Trump is a big racist and the conservatives are the Ku Klux Klan. And so because there was no evidence of that, they had to fabricate it. The demand for anti-black racism is very, very high. The supply is very, very small. And so they have to manufacture the supply. That's exactly what they did. BYU, it turns out the racial hate incident was a total hoax. 1969, Cornell University, Willard Straight Hall. You have Black Power activists who are demanding the creation of an African American Studies Center, an African American Studies department. African American Studies is a fake academic discipline, but in the 60s, these kind of critical theory disciplines were cropping up everywhere. And so these activists at Cornell wanted one, and they weren't going to get one because it's a fake academic discipline. So then what do you know? A burning cross shows up in front of one of the black groups on campus. And as a result of this, there's a major incident. You have Black Power activists with guns holding people hostage on campus. And as a result, the university caves and creates the AFAM Studies Department. Now, the most curious thing about this whole incident is they never found out who put up that burning cross. They never found any of those Ku Klux Klansmen on campus. In fact, they found a lot of evidence that the Black Power activists burned the cross themselves. Of course, why wouldn't they? By feigning victimhood, they got everything that they wanted. Obviously, Jussie Smollett, that's the greatest example. You got this basically unknown actor from a show that pretty much nobody watched, walking around Chicago, downtown Chicago, a city that had been governed by libs for almost 100 years at that point, exclusively by libs, by one of the most notorious Democrat machines. And then it just so happens that there were two Klansmen, MAGA hat-wearing men out on the street looking for this obscure actor and carrying rope to lynch him, wearing the MAGA hats, and then Jussie Smollett fought them off while holding a Subway sandwich. It never made any sense. Half of the country believed it. More than half the country believed Smollett. Even in the most ridiculous version of this. That's the power of the narrative. 2016. 3 black students at Oberlin College accused a bakery and liquor store owner of racially profiling them, discriminating against them. Major incident. Oberlin cuts the contract, totally defames this poor little bakery. And it turns out, no, the kids were lying. They were trying to rob the store. They were trying to steal booze. They completely made it up. And everyone bought into it, hook, line, and sinker, except for those of us who know that every single one of these incidents is a hoax. And fortunately now in court, the court, when presented with all this evidence, actually found in favor of the bakery. But too little too late. The baker actually ended up dying, and Oberlin still hasn't totally paid them out. What about 2016, that same year, Bowling Green State University? There was allegedly an incident of rock-hurling white Trump supporters throwing these rocks at a black student. The only evidence of racism or violence that investigators could find was a trove of text messages from the black student who had concocted this story. The student had sent her boyfriend texts disparaging white people and wishing death upon Trump supporters and saying that she wished we would all get AIDS. Okay. 2017, St. Olaf College in Minnesota. A black student left a racist threat on her own car. There was here's a threat. The Klan's going through Minnesota. No, she wrote it herself. 2017. 5 black Air Force Academy cadets found racial slurs on their doors. Oh no, the Klan is active at the Air Force, right? No, turns out, investigation proved they wrote the threats themselves and the slurs themselves. 2018, a black student at Goucher College found in a dorm room bathroom, "I'm going to kill all N-words." Big uproar. Here we go. The Klan is back. And reasonable people knew this was obviously fake. And it turns out, yes, the kid wrote the slur himself. And the irony of it is, I guess the kid is technically black. If you look at a picture of him, he doesn't look black at all. You wouldn't even know that he was black. So even the idea that he would have been targeted is completely preposterous. He doesn't, not that he wouldn't have been targeted anyway, because this stuff doesn't exist. Because it's all made up. Because it has to be fabricated for the demand. Right now, go to podium.com/Knowles. A lot of people hate calling a business and would much rather just send a quick message. If you're running a business and the only way to get in touch with you is a phone number, you might be losing people. Podium gives businesses the tools to compete with the convenience offered by bigger businesses or huge companies like Amazon. From healthcare providers to plumbers, over 100,000 businesses are texting with customers through Podium. Customers love the convenience, businesses love the results. One car dealer sold a $50,000 truck in just 4 text messages. With Podium's all-in-one inbox, you can do even more than just chat. Get more online reviews by sending an easy-to-use link, collect payments fast from anywhere, and send marketing campaigns that actually get a response, all by sending a quick text. See how Podium can grow your business. Watch a demo today at podium.com/Knowles. That's podium.com/Knowles. Podium, let's grow. I'm glad you like that clip. Now, hold on. Ring that bell, subscribe, get the notifications. That way we'll go from 1 million subscribers to 1 billion in no time. Check it out. We'll see you next time.